Hey, John, what's going on?
Hey, Craig, not much. Enjoying this fake spring. How about you?
I'm enjoying the fake spring. Every day I'm surprised that it's still here. I haven't looked at the forecast because last time I looked at it, what didn't look so great. And then, we've been having this weather. It's going to disappear. We're going to get a snowstorm. I don't know. I hope everyone understands that's the way it goes, right? Like March is going to go out with a snowstorm, just the way it's going to be. Winter's going to come back hard. Then maybe mid-April we'll get this weather again. So enjoy it while it lasts. Don't think it's here forever.
Oh, it's stopping tonight. We're getting freezing rain tonight, apparently. So, as we're recording this on March 10th. Oh, happy Mario Day!
Is it Mario Day?
Yeah, March 10th.
I did not know that was Mario Day for some reason.
No.
I'm out of the loop when it comes to Mario. All right, let's get going. We got a lot to talk about, and I think we're going to add that. I didn't add it to the thing, so remind me if we have time for the Anthropic story, or we'll drop one other one later. But let's jump into this now. We spent decades chasing every new mutation of the flu and COVID with a needle. But Stanford just changed the game by moving the battlefield to the nose. This isn't just a new vaccine, it's a software update for your lungs that could make the seasonal flu shot a relic of the past. This is what they're calling one spray to guard them all. Researchers at Stanford have developed a pathogenostic nasal spray that reprograms the lung's innate immune system instead of teaching your body to recognize one specific virus. It primes your respiratory tract to block almost anything from COVID to pneumonia causing bacteria. This effectively creates a universal shield, potentially ending the era of chasing variants and reducing our reliance on antibiotics for secondary infections. What do you think about this, John?
I think this is cool, and we're going to get a lot of anti-vaxxers, the haters talking or speaking up about this. But I think this is cool. It kind of seems too good to be true to me, but let's dive into it for a second. So this experimental intranasal vaccine, it's designed to provide a broad protection against respiratory pathogens. So instead of targeting a specific virus or bacterial protein, the vaccine works by stimulating both the innate and adaptive immune systems in the lungs. And that's what creates a long-lasting defensive state. So traditional vaccines, what they do is they teach the adaptive immune system to recognize a specific pathogen's antigen. So like spike protein from the SARS-CoV-2. But the problem is that viruses mutate frequently. Like how we have different flu and different COVID and different things like that. So the Stanford team instead designed a vaccine that mimics the signaling environment of a real infection, which activates immune pathways that are effective against many pathogens simultaneously. So how it works is the experimental vaccine contains a formulation called GLA3M052LS, and that's combined with a protein antigen, OVA. And so the adjuvant components, they trigger immune signaling pathways similar to those activated during infections. So that's what stimulates the recruitment and activation of immune cells in lung tissue. So these signals cause immune cells, which include macrophages, dendritic cells, and T cells, to form long-lasting protective networks in the respiratory tract. So this local immunity is especially important because respiratory pathogens typically infect the nasal passages and lungs first. So I love this. And so the results, there were some results in animal experiments. So in the mouse study, animals that received multiple doses of the nasal vaccine, they showed protection against several threats simultaneously. So coronavirus and SARS, influenza, the flu, bacterial pathogens such as strep throat, and allergens like house dust mites. And the cool thing about this, which I think is awesome, is that the protection lasted at least several months after vaccination and animal tests. What do you think about this? I'm excited about this one.
Well, I think this is really interesting. I love it when science breaks through, and anytime we can help out our immune system or fight diseases or prevent that kind of thing, I'm all for it. I also want to make sure, we talk about anti-vaxxers and stuff. I like my vaccines thoroughly tested. I like the long studies that know the side effects and all that kind of stuff. So you can call me what you want. But currently, this is in preclinical success, like you said, mice, and the phase 1 human trials are next step. So we expect to see potentially a 3 to 5 year window before it's publicly available. This is like upgrading your home security system, where a traditional vaccine is like giving your guard a wanted poster for one specific burglar. If a guy wears a mask or a different hat, he gets right past. This nasal spray is like installing a high-tech motion sensing floodlight with an automatic deadbolt on the front door. It doesn't care who the intruder is. It just makes entryway impossible to penetrate. So it's likely to be a premium, but cost similar to what happens and what is now. And there apparently is a 3-month duration. A single dose cycle provides continuous 3-month protection. So that's interesting. They've seen a 90% reduction in viral loads and lung inflammation markers during this challenge when they were doing the tests and stuff. So the other thing, I think you mentioned this, but this utilizes the trained innate immunity by delivering synthetic immune signals. The cytokine, chemokine mimics to the musical surfaces, and it reprograms lung resident macrophages and dendritic cells. So it moves the defense from the adaptive system, a slow, to an innate system, which is, cool. So the one thing to note here is this actually works on allergens as well. So in the Stanford study, mice treated the vaccine showed a massive reduction in inflammation when exposed to house dust mice. The push to pathogen agnostic tech is largely driven by the 100-day mission, which is a global G7 initiative to have vaccines ready within 100 days of the next pandemic threat. And while most vaccines focus on a Y-shaped antibodies in the blood, this targets secretory IgA and a local cellular barriers, essentially fighting the war at the border instead of in the capital city. So there's still some concerns about a cytokine storm risk and other things. So we'll have to see how long this takes to get through and where we're going to get FDA approval. But I do love where this is going. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other cool thing is that mathematical models are suggesting that if these nasal sprays, if they're used during outbreaks, it could dramatically reduce infections if it's deployed early in high-risk environments like, say, conferences or ships, right? So I'm excited for this. So a few challenges ahead. Obviously, we got to look into safety, right? So there's long-term immune stimulation, which could cause inflammation. There's the human respiratory systems. The thing with the ones in humans, they're more complex than in mice. And the duration of the immunity, they have to prove that, especially for humans. So the cool impact, if we were to talk about potential impact on public health, we're going to have fewer seasonal vaccines. We're going to have better protection against emerging viruses and easier mass vaccination campaigns, which I think is good to help us for future pandemics, because there's one coming. It's just a question of when.
Yeah, there's always one coming. It's just like we're all pre-death. So we're moving from a reactive defense by variant strategy to a proactive fortress lung reality. I really like this plan, but we do have to run the test and see the side effects and what are the risks of the cytokine storm and the other things involved. But if this gets FDA approval, would you give up your annual flu shot for a 3-dose nasal spray that covers everything? Or does reprogramming your lung immunity sound a little too sci-fi for you? Let us know what you think in the chat. Right? Is that right? Yeah, that's the right one. Perfect. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. The days of waiting weeks for custom industrial parts are over because MIT just printed a functional motor for the price of a candy bar. We aren't just 3D printing plastic toys anymore. We're printing the actual muscles of machines that build our world. So MIT is now printing motors for pennies. Researchers retrofitted a standard 3D printer with 4 extruders to create a functional linear motor in one shot. By mixing magnets, conductors, and plastics in a single print, they eliminated the need for manual assembly. This collapses the design to prototype cycle from months to 3 hours, potentially ending our reliance on fragile global supply chains for specialized mechanical parts. What do you think about this, John?
I'm excited about this. I love this. I love that they've developed this multi-material additive manufacturing system. This is capable of producing complex electromechanical devices in one single printing run. So traditional 3D printers typically deposit 1 or 2 materials, usually plastics, and it makes them unsuitable for devices that require electrical conductivity or magnetism and structural support all simultaneously, right? So this new system, what it does is it incorporates 4 specialized extrusion tools, and each of them are capable of depositing different classes of material during the printing process. So the 4 include dielectric materials, electrically conductive inks, and both soft and hard magnetic materials. This blows me away. So by switching between these materials during fabrication, the system can essentially build layered structures that replicate the internal architecture of electric machines. And so what they did to demonstrate the capability, they printed a fully functional electric linear motor that costs about 50 cents for the raw materials. This blows me away. I think this is super cool. What do you think about this, Craig?
Oh, this is crazy. This kind of update's like moving from Lego to Star Trek Replicator. You're usually, if you want a motor, you have to buy the plastic housing, the copper coils, the magnetic separately, spend hours putting them together. Now this new, it's like hitting print, or making sandwich. It's so simple. And, building these multifunctions, finally we're getting to where 3D printers should have been. Like they've been around forever now. And now that they can incorporate these kinds of technologies, we're really becoming amazing. Currently, functional proof of concept is what's happening right now. We're expect to see localized industrial use in the next 2 to 3 years. And it's amazing that they were able to build a motor for about 50 cents.
And in roughly 3 hours.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
Like I'm just thinking about like current 3D printing, right? And like someone printing a piece of plastic, extruded plastic, like let's just say something a little complex, typically takes like 12 hours. And that's just one type of extrusion or one type of material that's extruded. So like I need to see this in person, or I need to see this in motion, because this just blows me away.
Yeah, and like you're saying, the breakthrough relies on multi-material co-deposition by precisely aligning tool paths. Printer deposits conductive polymer-based filaments to form electromagnetic coils and magnetic composites to create permanent magnetic fields directly within structural PLA and ABS frames. Like the thought of this is amazing. This is like a death jet moment for heavy industry. It represents a jump from passive printing to like static objects to active printing, functional electromechanical devices. Similar to how we move from vacuum tubes, integrated circuits, or how we're moving now from chatbots to AI agents that can actually do things. We're able to now get to a point where we're printing things that can actually be functional machines.
Yeah, and the thing about this is that the research is really about essentially digitizing manufacturing. if we were to put it simply. Like, we're digitizing manufacturing. So instead of shipping parts around the world, you're going to ship design files.
Yeah, and the concept is eventually you would download a car once you get things going. But let's look at the downside a little bit. While the motor works, it uses conductive polymers rather than copper. And these polymers have significantly higher electrical resistance than metal, meaning the motor is currently optimized for low force tasks rather than high torque industrial applications. The research targets print-to-part manufacturing, a sector predicted to reduce warehouse dead stock, like you're saying, by 90% for companies that maintain massive inventories of spare mechanical parts. And you probably have them closer to the end users. The researchers didn't use a multi-million-dollar machine. They used a low-cost FDM printer, the kind hobbyists use, proving that the intelligence of the manufacturing is in the software and the material science, not just high-price hardware.
Yeah. And so the thing about being able to download a car, like, as of right now, it's way too complex. Like, because they require batteries, they require safety systems, they require electronics. So right now, there's no way to print it out. But yes, we're getting closer to a replicator type Star Trek kind of device. But also some other risk limitations. So there's going to be regulatory approval for printed structural components, obviously, and we're going to have to be concerned about quality control across these different distributed printing facilities. But there's a huge impact here. There's the potential benefits to the economy. There's shorter production cycles, lower material waste, customizable products, and decentralized manufacturing. So, kind of to go off on your point, there's not going to be as much storage needed. You're just going to have to store the raw materials.
It's like what they've done with the missions in space now. They actually have a high-tech 3D printer on board the space things now with just material to build the tools and plans to build what they need that are thoroughly tested. So if they need a specific wrench, they don't have to have it in stock. They just have enough material. So they can print what they need, and instead of having, and that really reduces the weight. This is interesting for on demand. So if you're in the R&D or robotics industry, stop looking at 3D printing as, say, a case maker and start looking at it as a multi-material FDM and start thinking about the future where this is going. And MIT just proved that the factory of the future doesn't need an assembly line. It just needs very smart printers and 50 cents of filament. If you could print any functional electronic device at home for under $1, what's the first thing you'd be making? Let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear from you.
We're burning through these.
Well, we're moving at the pace we're supposed to move.
No, I love it. It's great.
What's the next one? Sorry. Quantum Shield. Oh, this is
Vitalic.
Okay. Thank you. Sometimes the titles are shortened quite a bit. And,
yeah, they are. I'm like, Quantum Shield. It has to be Ethereum.
Yeah, thank you. I was trying to do that math in my head as well. What? I picked the shorter ones when I copied them in this morning. That's all. All right, share that instead. Oh, yeah, I just press that. The math that protects your life savings is about to meet its match, and Vitalic Buterin is already building the shield. Quantum computers are coming for Ethereum's throat, but the post-quantum roadmap is the blueprint to ensure the world doesn't crash when they arrive. What do you think about this, John?
So yeah, we've covered this a couple times when it comes to blockchain, when it comes to crypto specifically. So let's just talk about this as far, like, let's break it down. So Ethereum security relies on a few cryptographic primitives, especially digital signatures and elliptic curve cryptography. And so these systems ensure that only the owner of a wallet can authorize a transaction and that validators cannot forge blocks. But quantum algorithms such as Shor's algorithm, which we've covered in the past, can theoretically solve the mathematical problems underlying these cryptographic systems far faster than classical computers. So we've talked about all that in the past, but just to bring everyone up to speed. So if a sufficiently powerful quantum computer existed, it could derive private keys from public keys. In practice, it could allow attackers to take control of cryptocurrency wallets, impersonate validators, or compromise blockchain consensus systems. So where Ethereum is vulnerable to quantum attacks, so Vitalic's roadmap, he highlighted 4 main components that could be vulnerable to quantum computing attacks. So first is validator signatures, which is used in Ethereum's consensus mechanism. The second is data availability schemes, such as KZG commitments. The third is wallet signatures used by regular users. And the fourth is zero knowledge proofs used in advanced applications. And so all of these rely on cryptographic assumptions that quantum computers could potentially break. And so to address these vulnerabilities, he's proposed transitioning Ethereum to a post-quantum cryptographic scheme. And one proposal that he has is to replace the network's current signature system with hash-based signatures, which are considered resistant to quantum attacks. And then another proposal that he had involves using Stark-based cryptography, which we've covered in the past, and recursive proof aggregation, which can maintain security while keeping transaction costs manageable. And so these allow Ethereum to verify large sets of signatures efficiently while using quantum-safe algorithms. So my question to you is, okay, Vitalic's talking about this for Ethereum. Are others doing this, do you think? And they're just not talking about it like Vitalik is? Because we all know Vitalik's super smart guy. Like, he's just phenomenal. Or what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know what everyone else is doing just because they're not talking about it, and I'm not in the GitHub or the open source communities with them figuring out what's happening because, I'm doing all that over on Open Cloud AI, and you can only have one obsession in today's world because it's just the information comes too hard and fast, right? So I look at this and I think it's great because we've talked about who is moving ahead on, quantum is coming and it's going to break everything and we need to be moved faster because every 6 months it moves from 50 years to 20 years to 10 years in that kind of pattern. So it's going to be here faster than we think. And it's good to see that Vitalik and Ethereum got it covered. I unfortunately don't know what the rest of the crypto or blockchain community are doing about this, but that's a great thing to ask our friends at the Futurist Conference and some of the other people we know to find out what is happening to harden the security for future on these things.
Yeah, shout out to Tracy and Laura Laparullo from Futurist Blockchain. Let's hope that they, if they don't already have someone talking about quantum and the effects that it might have, that they will bring someone on because it's going to affect crypto very soon. So
let me dumb this down a little, and excuse me for saying dumbing it down a little for the common folk, because John went through a lot of technical stuff. No, it's great. It's what we want to do. But the bottom line is Ethereum is overhauling its core math from how you sign transactions to how validators secure the network to resist future quantum attack. It's incremental migration plan to replace the current elliptical cryptography curve with a quantum hard alternatives. And this prevents a digital doomsday where a quantum computer could instantly forge your signature or drain your wallet. Think of this update like to change the locks of every door in a skyscraper while the building is still full of people. Right now we use high-tech magnetic key cards. They're great. But just found out the next generation of thieves will master magnets. They can bypass them instantly. Ethereum isn't waiting for the robbery. They're swapping out the magnets for unpickable physical deadbolts, hash-based signatures, floor by floor, so the residents never even have to leave their apartment. So that's kind of brings it down to the user level. They're rolling this out in phases. Short-term prep is happening now with full migration over the next several years. Did you have an indication of when they wanted this? I didn't see the date.
So it said the transition is going to take years because cryptography changes is going to affect every wallet and smart contract, and all the upgrades have to be secure and backward compatible. And so there's going to be a lot of testing that's going to be needed. But all I found was that it's going to take years. Which, do we have years? Let's hope.
Well, according to last time we checked, I think we're the last time it said we're down to about 20 years. So I think we have years. So we'll see. I mean, what does that mean? Does that mean every quantum computer could do this in 20 years, or does this mean 3 computers in the world could potentially do this that are owned by militaries and the government, right? What does that mean? We don't know yet, and we don't know if it's actually 20 years or 10 years, right? Most quantum safe signatures are stateful, meaning you have to keep track of every signature you've ever sent to avoid reuse. A leaf in a Merkle tree, which would instantly compromise your key. The Ethereum Foundation has a dedicated post-quantum research team that you're talking about is currently collaborating with NIST, the National Institute of Science and Technology, to ensure new standards are globally vetted. So he's not just going to do his own thing. He's really working to make sure the top professionals in the world have vetted this standard and that it's going to work. Vitalic has also noted that if a QC, a quantum computer, suddenly appeared tomorrow, Ethereum could technically perform a simple recovery fork, but it would be chaotic. Hence why the roadmap exists to avoid the panic.
Yeah. So there's a lot of complexity behind this, and obviously, like you just talked about NIST, and there's other major tech companies that are already trying to standardize quantum safe cryptographic algorithms for future internet. And we've covered some of that in the past. But Ethereum's addressing it now because there's billions of dollars of value on the network. And I'm sure all the other ones have to be doing it because there's billions of dollars on the network of value on the network. So, I think just Vitalic's a little bit more open about it, but I'm sure everyone's working on it.
I hope so. The Ethereum isn't just scaling for more users, it's hardening for a future where the current rules of physics and computing no longer apply. If you had to choose between a 20% increase in gas fees or a 1% chance of a quantum computer to steal your Ethereum in a decade, which would you pick? Let us chat. Leave us your thoughts in the chat, and let us know if we're gonna see you at the Futurist Conference in July. It's coming back to town. I think it's 2 or 3 days. So grab your tickets because prices keep going up, and the earlier you get them, the cheaper they are.
If you're listening to it today, 2-for-1 ends on Friday. So get your tickets July 21st, 22nd at Rebel. I think that cut off.
What?
Your title, solar. It's supposed to be solar hydrogen battery.
Yeah, you're right. It did cut off.
It's all good.
I think it's just supposed to say this.
Okay.
Just missed the N when I was copying and pasting. Everything looks right, but you're not seeing that anymore. Where are you? Okay. Thank you. The dream of liquid sunlight is finally real, and it's turning the entire energy grid into a rechargeable battery. Forget massive lithium farms. We just figured out how to store the sun's power in a simple polymer and release it as green hydrogen on demand. Sunlight stored in liquid plastic. Scientists have developed a water-soluble copolymer that absorbs sunlight and stores it as a chemical energy for days. When you're ready to use it, a simple change in pH triggers the liquid to release pure green hydrogen gas. This solves the intermittency problem of solar power, allowing us to bottle the sun during the day and use it as fuel at night without needing expensive, heavy metal batteries. What do you think about this, John?
I think this is a huge breakthrough that is kind of going that's not talked about more. So what the research team did was they created a water soluble redox active copolymer, and it's capable of storing temporarily electrons generated from sunlight. And so copolymers are large molecules that are composed of different repeating building blocks. And in this design, the polymer structure was engineered with functional chemical groups that can accept and hold electronics during a photocatalytic reaction. And so these electrons represent stored solar energy. Now, unlike traditional batteries, which store electrical charge through ion movement, this system stores energy as chemical potential in molecular bonds. Now, during the charging phase, visible light interacts with ruthenium-based dye catalyst that absorbs photons. And so this catalyst excites electrons and transfers them into the copolymer storage structure. And the polymer effectively acts as a temporary electron reservoir, allowing solar energy to be stored chemically for several days. And they actually reported charging efficiency exceeding 80%. So that means that most of the captured solar energy remains stored in the polymer system. And this is notable because many solar fuel systems lose energy rapidly during conversion and storage. And so, like you said, when energy is needed, they trigger a chemical reaction by adding acid and a hydrogen evolution catalyst. And so the stored electrons combine with protons to produce molecular hydrogen, H2. And so this reaction, that is what releases the energy in a usable chemical fuel. And so the hydrogen production stage, that achieves around 72% efficiency, which means that most of the stored chemical energy becomes hydrogen fuel, which is my favorite fuel of the future. And the other thing too, the other important advantage is that the reaction can occur even in the dark. So because the energy was stored during the day, you can expense it at night, which I think this is phenomenal. This is super cool. What do you think? All of these today have been really interesting.
I like to think of this as an update, like a glow in the dark sponge. During the day, you leave the sponge in the sun, it soaks up the light energy. Instead of just glowing, though, the sponge holds on to that energy invisibly until you squeeze it like a lemon to get it out. The moment that the juice hits, the sponge exhales hydrogen gas. You can use that power to your car, heat your home. It's literally a battery you can pour into your tank. Currently, it's in the advanced lab scale testing at the University of Jena, Ulm, and commercial grid scale pilots are the next milestone. So this is moving fairly fast. It's potentially much lower cost than lithium ion because it uses organic polymers and the water rather than rare earth elementals. It's designed for industrial energy storage, hydrogen fueling stations, and decentralized home power units. And you can even eventually use solar fuel tank in your backyard that generates cooking and heating fuel directly off your son's roof. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's a couple things though. There's a couple challenges to scaling, right? So laboratory chemical versus industrial reactors, that's a key challenge. Material durability and the cost of the catalyst. So ruthenium is actually really expensive. So, but this is so cool. This could have long-term impacts on solar fuel plants, renewable hydrogen infrastructure, carbon-free industrial energy. Like, there's a whole bunch that this could enable if they can get it to scale, which I'm excited for.
I'm excited for this as well. You talked about the photoredox copolymers, where photosynthesizers capture photons to drive electrons into reduct active units. This photocharged macromolecular electrolyte remains stable for days due to the polymer's ability to inhibit back reaction until the pH switch. So this introduces protons for the hydrogen to evolution catalyst. So once the pH switch happens, it's great. So this is the most significant leap in artificial photosynthesis since the first electrical chemical cells in 1970s, moving us from instant use photocatalysts to storable solar fuel.
Yeah.
The violet color, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The violet color in the charged state isn't for show. It's a pure manifestation of radical anions stored on the polymer backbone, literally seeing the electrons waiting to be used.
Yeah, and so like photoelectrochemical systems, this is different from photoelectrochemical systems because they use sunlight to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. And so this process, what that does is it converts solar energy directly into chemical fuel. And it's been considered a potential cornerstone of future hydrogen economy. But this new polymer system, it represents a different approach. It stores the solar energy first before producing hydrogen, which I think is a huge leap and very critical for hydrogen, for energy storage going forward.
Yeah, and unlike traditional electrolysis, which requires ultra pure water and massive electricity, this system can potentially operate in modular flow batteries that are much easier to maintain in remote areas. The research is a fusion project between two German powerhouse universities, Jena and Ulm, proving that the big breakthroughs in 2026 are happening where polymer science meets quantum photocatalysis. So the 58% round trip efficiency is impressive for new tech, but it still loses significant energy compared to a standard lithium ion battery, which sits at 90%. So we need to see if the polymer can survive thousands of solid charge-discharge cycles without degrading. Yeah. And we need to keep an eye on green hydrogen ETFs, because if this starts rolling out, we're going to see some movement in the hydrogen markets, but don't take stock advice from me.
Yeah. Think of it this way, though. This is essentially like it's artificial photosynthesis, which is engineered for energy storage, which is super cool.
So we're moving away from mining theirs for batteries and towards growing our energy storage in a lab. Would you feel safer with a tank of solar liquid in your garage compared to a massive lithium battery wall? Let us know in the chat. Liquid versus solid. What's the future of your home electricity grid? All right, let me find it. Perfect. Got it. The $24,000 a year Bloomberg terminal just met its AI match, and it was built in a single afternoon. If you thought professional financial data was a walled garden, Perplexity just smashed the gate with an autonomous computer agent. So the headline today is AI clones the Bloomberg terminal using a computer agent. Perplexity decomposed complex financial goals into code, UI design, and data aggregation to build custom investment dashboards instantly. It mimics the high-end pro look while running on a multi-agent orchestration. This democratizes elite level financial visualization, potentially ending the era where only big banks can afford high density market dashboards. What do you think about this, John?
I think this is cool, and we see these things every day, new stuff every day. So just so people know, Perplexity Computer, it's a cloud-based autonomous AI agent that's AI agent system that's designed to execute complex multi-step workflows such as research, coding, documentation creation from start to finish. So it operates as a virtual coworker and uses tools like web browsers, file systems, APIs to complete tasks rather than just answering questions. And so this finance developer has claimed that so this Bloomberg terminal, I don't know if you've ever seen it, it's got like all these different graphs and all this different like financial information, right? And it's very, very complex financial data. And so this developer built a replica of that, showing stock data, financial news, market analysis, similar to what traders see on Bloomberg Terminal. But here's where the debate comes in, right? So supporters say how AI tools can dramatically reduce the cost of financial analysis software. But critics are saying that the system lacks high quality, real-time market data and sophisticated analytics that make Bloomberg valuable to professional traders. I think they're right on one of those, which is the real-time market data. But what do you think? Do you think these critics are right, or do you think they're just being critical for being critical?
Well, I think the world is changing, and are people going to drop this $24,000 terminal? No. Is the price of the $24,000 terminal going to go down? Maybe. Now, I think what we're missing is what Bloomberg offers that other people don't, is the high speed millisecond turnaround time, right? Mm-hmm. So these, if you've ever read any of these, I can't remember the names of the books now, but they built the digital highway to the New York Stock Exchange with fiber, and so they could build this data center that had like less than millisecond anyway, it's an interesting story about how they did all of this stuff. But by being the fastest to respond, you have time for arbitrage before the price changes. You can do all sorts of things, and that speed is worth so much more money. So it's the real time, like you said, access, and like that. These terminals don't get that. They're waiting on whatever feed that they have that is not processed in milliseconds. It's processed in, much longer period of time. Whatever that means. It might be seconds. It might be minutes. It might be whatever, because you're getting your feed and your data from something that has a heartbeat that's longer, that going to the public versus wired into the backbone. Just one of those things. So there's a price to be paid for that. Now, will people be able to take this technology and say, why are we not making the Bloomberg thing better, more available? Bloomberg at some point is going to say, at some point we're going to get our lunch taken from us. So why don't we work with this and make a $5,000 terminal that, we can go in between here that does this and this. So I think the future is interesting because we're getting more pro-like tools in the hands of anybody who can sit down and do some vibe coding over a period of time, or knows how to navigate GitHub to grab code and run it. And if you don't, your AI assistant does. So it's not too hard to grab. Somebody built this board. It's on GitHub. Go download it and run it, right? The problem is, like anything, there's guardrails, there's hallucinations, there's all these things, and you want to make the decisions, but probably rather than have an AI make those decisions. But that's your risk is your risk. I'm not going to speak for anybody else's. I like to think of this update like Master Chef versus high-end meal kit. Bloomberg is the Master Chef. They own the kitchen, the secret recipes, and they've been doing it for 40 years. Perplexity is a hyper-advanced meal kit. It gives you the tools and the instructions to build your 5-star meal yourself in minutes for a fraction of the price, even if you've never cooked before. So, people like comparing the cost of Perplexity of $20 a month to Bloomberg's $2,000 a month. It's not really a good comparison because they're completely different products that perform completely different things. However, Bloomberg tracks about 200 billion plus data points. Perplexity relies on real-time web crawling and API task decomposition. So Bloomberg offers sub-millisecond direct exchange feed, while Perplexity is limited to web scraping and LLM inferences speed. So you're talking a huge difference in speed. But I really like what this is doing. I like where it's going, and I like that everyone can have more and more advanced tools. But at the same time, things like this are putting a lot of startups and smaller companies out of business who have tools to do these things. I don't think this is a direct competitor to Bloomberg. I think it's a direct competitor to all those other tools out there. And maybe someone like Robinhood should be scooping something like this up and building it into its app.
Yeah, like you said, the real moat, it's not the software itself, it's the data, right? So Bloomberg's dominance comes from proprietary data sets, direct exchange connections, financial news infrastructure, and analytic models that have been refined over decades. So AI obviously can recreate interfaces quickly, but the data licensing and infrastructure are much, much harder to replicate. So if he gets there, great. But like you said, those data connections don't exist in AI. They exist specifically for Bloomberg, and so that's the biggest holdback for this becoming a replacement for Bloomberg Terminal.
Absolutely. If you're a real retail investor, you should probably be taking a look at this, because you probably don't have access to Bloomberg Terminal. So you should be comparing these tools and run them side by side with whatever tools you have now. Compare them long term. It's always something to do. People will jump in this, plug it in AI, and start investing money based on what it says without running any testing stuff. So keep that in mind. We're witnessing the commoditization of the world's most expensive software, not just here, everywhere. Moving financial power from the terminal to the prompt. Is good enough AI dashboard worth ditching your $2,000 a month gold standard for, or is the risk of AI hallucination or the lack of speed when your life savings are on the line wouldn't make you change? Let us know what you think in the chat. Is this something you'd be interested in looking at? Let us know. This one? Yeah, perfect. Your desk drawer is hiding a supersonic physics lab, and every time you wrap a gift, you're breaking the sound barrier. That annoying screech from your Scotch tape isn't just friction, it's a rapid-fire sequence of microscopic sonic booms. Did you know tape peeling is literally supersonic? Scientists have discovered that peeling tape triggers transverse cracks that move up to 600 meters per second. These cracks create tiny vacuum voids that collapse instantly, generating the screech you hear. It proves that even the most mundane household items operate on extreme physical principles like fracture mechanics and shockwave dynamics. What do you think about this, John?
I love this. This is super cool. Who would have thought that ripping adhesive tape would cause transverse fractures that propagate across an adhesive layer, which causes these shock waves and produces that sharp acoustic pulse, right? I think this is cool. So how they did it though, because you're like, well, why now? So they used high-speed imaging combined with acoustic measurements. So they had two synchronized microphones that detected the arrival time of sound waves while cameras recorded the fracture propagation. And so the experiment showed that each sound pulse corresponded to a fracture band reaching the edge of the tape, which I think is super, super cool. So the process itself is also governed by stick slip dynamics, which is a common phenomenon in friction systems. So during peeling, the tape alternates between phases where the adhesive sticks firmly and phases where it suddenly slips and detaches. And so that rapid cycle of sticking and slipping generates bursts of motion that drive the fracture propagation responsible for the sound. So stick slip behavior is found in many systems like earthquakes, squeaking door hinges, even violin strings. And that's when stored energy is periodically released in sudden bursts. And I know there's not much that we can unpack here, but I think this is kind of a fun experiment that we learned something about tape and why it makes that sound.
Well, it's a great physics lesson. It's a great thing you can teach whenever you're wrapping a present to your kids or whatever, or just an antidote. But I like to think of this like a crowd doing the wave at a stadium. Instead of the whole crowd moving at once, a small ripple of people moves sideways across the stands at incredible speed. In Scotch tape, the wave is a crack moving so fast it outruns sound itself, leaving a trail of tiny popping bubbles in its wake.
Yeah. So why this matters though? Because it's not just about tape, right? It's understanding fracture dynamics, which is going to help with stronger materials, safer structures, and potentially quieter industrial processes. So I know this is just this is tape, this is a sonic boom, but this could propagate to other research and could be helpful.
Yeah, the sound is governed by the stick-slip dynamics. During the stick phase, elastic energy potential builds in the polymer chains. During the slip phase, the energy is released as a transverse fracture, creating a low-pressure void. With ambient air rushing in to fill the void, it creates localized shock wave. If you peel Scotch tape in a vacuum, it generates enough concentrated energy to emit X-rays, strong enough to take an X-ray image of a human finger. Scotch tape was originally invented in 1930 by Richard Drew, specifically to help auto painters clean lines on two-tone cars. Create clean lines. And the blue glow you see when peeling tape in a dark room is called triboluminescence, caused by electrons jumping across the gap and hitting nitrogen molecules in the air. So while the physics is cooling, knowing why it screeches doesn't make it any less annoying in a quiet library or office. If you want to minimize the low noise, peel slower. Reducing the peel velocity prevents the adhesive from reacting to the critical slip threshold where supersonic cracks form. I'm really looking forward to the science where they can take this and make material stronger as a result, and understanding the slip, stick, and the void breakdown and the acoustic generation. This is a very interesting technology.
Yeah.
So your office supplies are significantly more metal than you realize, turning mechanical tension into localized Mach speed events. Now that you know your tape is basically a jet engine, does this make you want to peel it more, or are you switching to silent tape dispensers? Let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. That looks right. That looks right. All right, let's go. The Pentagon just declared one of America's AI darlings a national security risk, not because of a hack, but because they refuse to build killer robots. Anthropic is suing the Department of Defense, and the fallout could redefine who actually controls the future of warfare. So Anthropic filed 2 lawsuits after the DoD labeled them a supply chain risk, and we talked about this last week or the week before, effectively blacklisting the company. This follows the collapse of a $200 million deal where Anthropic refused to let its tech be used for autonomous weapons and mass surveillance. This is the first time a major U.S. tech firm has been slapped with a label usually reserved for foreign adversaries like Huawei, signaling a comply or die era for Silicon Valley ethics. What do you think about them pushing back, John?
I love it. I'm glad they're pushing back because they're pushing back against what I would say is a child who's just lashing out because they didn't get what they wanted. So like they're arguing,
I would disagree, but I think these things need to happen.
Sure. Anthropic argues that the designation's unlawful retaliation because it refused to remove the safety restrictions. And the Pentagon has been demanding that allow models to be used for all lawful purposes. The funny thing is that the new deal signed with OpenAI still has those restrictions in place that Anthropic refused to remove. So I'm just curious as to why they are labeling it that. There's got to be something else underlying, which we don't know. But again, conspiracy, whatever.
Do we know if Grok's deal has the restrictions?
I don't know.
Okay, keep going. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to ask.
But this is the thing is that OpenAI agreed to work with the Pentagon with the same safeguards that Anthropic refused to remove. So again, I who knows what is going on here, but this is the first time, this is unprecedented, that the first time that a U.S. company has been labeled a national security supply chain risk. It normally applies to foreign adversaries like Chinese telecom companies, and effectively blocks companies from federal contracts and government systems. So, yeah, controversial for sure. What are your thoughts?
So when I say I disagree, this is meant to happen, meaning that at some point it's inevitable. It was inevitable, whether it was this presidency or the next presidency or this whatever, that these agreements have to be hashed out in court of what is lawful and what isn't. You can shake your head no or yes, but the rules have to be set. They do. And this is how these rules get set, is that, hey, this is a precedent. We've never done this to a US company before, but we've never used this type of technology in war to do these types of things before. So what legally are our entities allowed to do, or not allowed to do? What legally is a government punishment allowed to do for these things? This needs to be figured out. Again, whether it was now or 20 years from now, it needs to be figured out. So lawsuits are going to happen. Now, there's a lot of people backing Anthropic, 37 tech leaders, including Jeff Dean, is supporting Anthropic's brief. I want to see it play out. I'm curious because I don't. I'm curious to see who the court's going to favor over this. Is somebody going to come out and say, well, this is a national security thing, so people have limited rights versus that? I want to see it play out because the only way we get to a place where we know what the rules are is when the Supreme Court eventually passes law on what the government can and cannot do and what these AI companies can and cannot do. And then we'll be in a better place. It's like when you're forcing regulation in the EU. Like, I don't like that it happened this way. I don't like that, this is people waving a big stick. I like that.
The whole point to this childish thing is that OpenAI has signed an agreement with the same safeguards that Anthropic refused to remove. So there's not a fight over the safeguards because the safeguards are still in place.
But in the same breath, you said we don't know the other details about what's going on here.
No. What I meant was we don't know the details as to why they dropped Anthropic because they're bringing in OpenAI for the same thing that they're dropping Anthropic for.
And when I looked at the OpenAI stuff, the wording was different, but I don't know what the stickler is, and I don't know which way, again, I'm okay with your opinion on this. I just feel differently. I feel that this was inevitable. The lawsuits and all of this was inevitable, whether it was now or later. And I want it to happen because it's the only way the US does force regulation. The EU goes about and thinks about it and pushes regulation out in a different way. The US waits for these lawsuits to go up to the Supreme Court and then they decide how it handles it. It's just the way it is. They're so litigious. I don't like it. It's going to spend a lot of money, but in 6 months, we're going to have some actual outcome of what on both sides of this. I would hope that what is it when you're selling something to the Department of Defense or the Department of War or whatever, there may be exceptions to say that you don't get to decide because of the nature of business they're in, but you can decide whether you contract with them or not. Okay, maybe you do, maybe you don't, so I didn't want to, I don't know. I want to know what the law says. I want to know who has what rights, because I think going forward, we all need to know this, and we're going to have a ton more of these types of lawsuits. These companies are in lawsuits every day. Can't use this, can't use that, can't use our products for this. You're using it to make movies, to make videos that you shouldn't. All of the rules have to change. And it's unfortunately that the litigious situation in the US is such that it does have to happen like this. And it's unfortunate that, it's the US government and these guys at loggerheads on this when it probably could have been worked out a different way. But this fast tracks us to a legal precedent that will hopefully set some rules going forward that we just don't have right now.
Let's hope. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. What do you got going on, John?
Just plugging away, helping companies with government funding, attending events, probably startup drinks or a Flowgrammer event. How about you, Craig?
Lots of stuff going on. I honestly don't know when this is going out. I have to check. I think it's going to go out in April. But there's all sorts of stuff going on. If you don't know about OpenClaw, it's the latest AI automation agent that's taken the world by storm in 2026. And OpenClaw Toronto chapter just launched. And we have all sorts of events going on. So check out openclawto.com. Our first demo night is April 14th. We have a Builder Cafe on April 10th. We have a bunch of other events. There's updates every day. We've deconstructed the latest 2 betas over the weekend that was launched in OpenClaw and what you should do about them. There's a bunch of articles over there. Go check that out. We're also over at flowgrammer.ca where we do N8N automations. We run the Flowgrammer community and do Builders Hub and connectivity for AI and business automation agents. And for everything else, head over to Toronto Starts where we hook up startups and investors at our Startup Investor Drinks. We do mentoring, we do workshops, we have a list of investors. There's a whole bunch of content over. You can also book me over there if you want a meeting with me to talk about whatever, help your startup. Check out torontostarts.com. But John, if people are looking for non-dilutive funding, where should they go and what is that?
Yeah, non-dilutive funding. We're talking government grants, tax credits. Come find me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. Right now is shred time, SRDD. But come reach out to me to if you've got a startup, if you've got a company, reach out to me if you have any questions. And if they have company questions about their startup in general, where do they find you, Craig?
Yeah, find me at torontostarts.com. But John, just before we go, something's open right now, and it's closing May 31st. Thank you. Can export. And what? Yeah.
So if you have at least 300,000 in revenue in the previous year and you're looking to expand outside of Canada, reach out to me and we can put together, we can talk about an application for Can Export.
All the links we talked about will be in the show notes, wherever you're watching this. Thanks for watching, everybody. Leave us a comment, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.